Welcome to this video on the lead and water mitigation process for the Clean Classrooms for Carolina Kids program. I'm Riley Mulhern, a research environmental engineer with RTI International. This video is required for facilities with one or more taps with lead levels at or above what is known as the state hazard level or action level of 10 parts per billion. But other facilities interested in mitigation of lead and water risks may also find some of the information useful. The main goal of this video is to help you understand the process and best practices for mitigating lead and water risks at your facility. In this video, we will briefly review the recommended mitigation based on the test results for each tap, steps you need to take while awaiting mitigation, 3 different service options available to you for lead and water mitigation, how to complete the lead and water mitigation request form, and lastly, next steps for your facility. So let's get started with risk mitigation. First, what do we mean by risk mitigation? The word mitigation itself means to make something less severe. Lead and water risk mitigation thus includes any actions taken to reduce the amount of lead in drinking and cooking water at your facility to protect the health of children, students, and staff. After receiving an email notification, your facility should have reviewed your test results for each tap. Recommended risk mitigation strategies are provided based on the lead level at each tap. Even if the lead level is below the state action level, we recommend taking low-cost and no-cost actions at all taps with detectable lead. These include using only cold water for drinking and cooking, flushing all drinking and cooking taps regularly, and designating specific clean taps for drinking and cooking use. For taps with more than 10 parts per billion of lead, your facility is required to stop use of that tap and take additional steps to reduce lead levels to below 10. So these steps include replacing faucet fixtures or water fountains with new certified lead-free components, since the faucet or the fountain itself is the most common source of lead. And when appropriate, installing water filters certified to remove lead at water fountains, bottle fillers, and food preparation sinks. Let's move on to the steps you need to take immediately after receiving your test results and waiting for mitigation to occur. Under North Carolina rule requirements, there are key steps as a responsible individual must take if one or more taps are at or above the state action level. A responsible individual means a superintendent of a public school, an operator of a licensed child care facility, or a staff member designated by a superintendent or a center operator. The responsible individual is first required to restrict use for drinking or cooking at any taps that have lead levels at or above the state action level. The responsible individual is also required to ensure all students and staff have access to an alternative water supply free of cost that does not contain lead levels at or above the state action level. This could include different drinking water outlets within the building or bottled water on a temporary basis. Lastly, the individual is required to notify parents or legal guardians and staff of the test results within 5 business days. Results will also be publicly available on the Clean Classrooms for Carolina Kids webpage. To restrict use of the taps and notify staff and students, facilities should post signage at each tap with an exceedance indicating that the tap should not be used for drinking or cooking. To help with this, our program will provide facilities with pre-populated signs that state that a tap should not be used for drinking or cooking and is awaiting mitigation. You can see an example of one of these signs on this slide. Facilities will be provided with a link to download and print signs for each tap with an exceedance. The signs will include the tap ID, the name, the tap type, the room or area name, and the location of the tap within the building. The tap information is included to help facilities designate the right taps and help contractors identify the correct taps during the mitigation process. Now, let's move on to the options available to facilities for completing the required mitigation process for taps with exceedances above 10 parts per billion. There are 3 options available for facilities: full service, partial service, or no service. Full service means that all replacement plumbing products and installation of those products are paid for and completed by the program. This is possible through state funding, which is available to support mitigating drinking and cooking taps with lead at or above the state action level. Partial service means all replacement plumbing products are paid for by the program, but the facility coordinates its own contractor or staff for the installation of those products. Lastly, no service means that the facility purchases their own replacement products and coordinates and pays for the installation themselves. I'll now dive into each of these service options in more detail. First, we'll detail the full service option. The first step is to complete the mitigation request form, which will be available after this video. Once the form is completed, RTI will select, purchase, and ship appropriate certified lead-free replacement products, and if necessary, water filter certified to remove lead. RTI will then have its facilities contractor, MCOR Facility Services, schedule a visit to the facility for the removal of the old faucets and/or fountains and installation of new certified lead-free products. Once the mitigation is completed, our program will document those mitigation actions for the facility in the Clean Classrooms for Carolina Kids public dashboard. Lastly, a local or state health department official will follow up with post-mitigation testing to ensure those taps are safe for drinking and cooking. If a facility selects partial service, once the form is completed, the program will select, purchase, and ship appropriate certified lead-free products, but then the facility is required to schedule and perform installation of those products, either using the facility's maintenance staff or a preferred external plumbing contractor. If an external plumbing contractor is used, the facility may be eligible for reimbursement of up to $1,000 in labor expenses. It is important to note that reimbursement for labor is not available if facility or district staff perform the installations. Then, once mitigation activities are completed, the facility is required to document those mitigation actions in the program's online portal to satisfy the state requirements. Upon documentation, a local or state health department official will follow up with post-mitigation testing. A common question for the program is about which brands of products will be selected and purchased by RTI for the full or partial service options. On this page, you can see the default product brands that the program can supply. It is important to note that RTI declares no conflict of interest in these selections, and the selections were made based on the best available options to provide statewide service. Faucet replacements will be covered by comparable products in the T&S brass catalog. Water fountains will be replaced with Murdoch H2O to go fountains with integrated bottle fillers, and new undersink filters will be A.O. Smith filters that treat the full flow of cold water for designated cafeteria and food prep sinks. Finally, although the program strongly encourages facilities to make use of the public funds to complete water mitigation, there is the option to opt out of the paid program and select no service. But facilities are still required to mitigate under the state ruling, must then select and purchase the appropriate replacement products on their own and schedule and perform product installation with their own maintenance staff or a preferred external plumbing contractor. If the no service option is selected, all products and labor costs are the responsibility of the facility, and the facility will not be eligible for any reimbursement. Once mitigation activities are completed, the facility is required to document those mitigation actions in the Clean Classrooms for Carolina Kids portal to satisfy the state requirements. And then a local or state health department will follow up with post-mitigation testing, which is still required. Moving on to the mitigation process. First, this may already be clear, but it is important to note again that with full and partial service options, the state funding only applies to standard drinking or cooking taps. This includes water fountains, bottle fillers, bubblers, and drinking or cooking faucets. Any other peripheral appliances that may use tap water at the building but are not standard taps, so this includes ice makers, steam ovens, or steam kettles, or the like, while they may be tested under the program, they are not covered for mitigation. With all service level options, even for no service, facilities must complete a mitigation request form. The request form will start with collecting facility information, including a shipping address for the replacement products, primary and backup points of contact, a district point of contact for schools, and an appropriate storage location for the products when they are shipped to the facility. When designating the primary point of contact, it is important to keep in mind their key responsibilities throughout the mitigation process. The primary contact will receive facility notifications when products are shipped and delivered. They will need to complete the product check form when products are delivered to the facility to ensure that the products are in good condition. They will need to be available to schedule in the installation date with the assigned contractor for the full service option and provide access to the facility for the assigned contractor. We will now move into a brief overview of specific questions for each tap in the mitigation request form. For facilities that select full or partial service, tap level information is collected to help determine a compatible replacement product. Starting with food preparation. For all taps at or above the state action level, you will be asked if the tap is used for food preparation for children or students on a daily basis. Food preparation includes the boiling or cooking of foods, preparing infant formula, washing raw fruits and vegetables, or any other food. Taps only used for washing kitchenware, serviceware, or utensils should not be designated as used for food preparation. For each tap, you will also be asked if there are other taps connected to it. So what does that mean? Depending on the type of water outlet, there may be one or more taps at a single unit. For example, a pre-rinse sink sometimes includes two taps, one faucet and one sprayer. So that would be two taps, but one unit. If you're filling out information for this pre-rinse faucet, tap 1, in the request form, you would indicate that there is another tap connected to the unit and then select the tap name for the sprayer, tap 2 in the photo. As another example, the water fountain shown on this slide has 3 connected taps. So if any one of these 3 had an exceedance above 10 parts per billion, you would indicate, yes, there is another tap connected to the unit and then select the tap names. If any of the taps at a single unit has an exceedance, then the entire unit will be replaced. The next set of questions we will review are required for faucets. You will be asked the mounting information, faucet measurements, and some additional tap information that we will go over here. First, you will need to identify the type of mounting style, either a deck mount or a wall mount faucet, and you can see some examples of the different types here. The deck mount attaches to a countertop or rests on the sink. The wall mount attaches through the wall or the back of the sink basin. Next, you will identify the number of mounting holes. Your faucet will have either 1, 2, or 3 mounting holes, also called faucet holes. These are the spaces to hold the faucet spout and the handles. You can often tell how many holes there are just by looking at the top of the sink, but you may need to check underneath to determine the number of holes if there is a mounting plate, like the example in the very center of the slide. You can see various examples on the slide of different configurations with 1, 2, or 3 mounting holes. Next, you will need a ruler or tape measure to take some measurements of the faucet, including the center distance, the spout height, the spout reach, and the faucet height in inches. My colleagues Erin White and Crystal Lee Powell-Jackson will show you how to take these 4 measurements in a quick video.
This is an example of a deck-mounted faucet with 1 mounting hole. Faucets with 1 mounting hole often have a lever on the side of the faucet. This is an example of a wall-mounted faucet with 2 mounting holes. Even if there is a faucet and 2 handles, one for hot and one for cold, that does not necessarily mean there are 3 mounting holes. Be sure to check whether the 2 handles are connected by a horizontal pipe. The horizontal pipe or bridge between the 2 handles may be visible at the base or underneath the countertop or sink. The 4 measurements we're going to take are center distance, spout height, spout reach, and faucet height.
This tap does not have the center distance. The center distance is the horizontal distance between the 2 furthest mounting holes. If your faucet only has 1 mounting hole, you will not need to measure a center distance.
9 inches.
Spout height is the vertical distance from the point of connection to the bottom of the spout opening, where the water is exiting from the faucet.
9 inches.
For wall-mounted faucets, you may have to get creative, where you'll measure the distance between the sink and the spout opening
4 3/4 inches.
and subtract the distance from the sink to the mount.
2 inches. 4 3/4 inches minus 2 inches is 2 3/4 inches.
The spout reach is the horizontal distance from the spout opening to the faucet body.
7 1/2 inches. 11 3/4 inches.
The faucet height is the vertical distance from the point of connection to the top of the faucet, usually where the faucet arcs or curves. For a pre-rinse sink, go to the top of where the hose begins to arc or curve.
16 inches.
For wall-mounted faucets, you will also have to get creative, like measuring the distance between the top of the faucet and the sink
8 inches.
and subtracting the distance from the wall mount to the sink.
2 inches. 8 minus 2 is 6 inches.
Once you've completed the faucet measurements, you will also need to determine if there is space available underneath the sink where a water filter could be installed, and whether the water shutoff valve underneath the faucet or sink is accessible. For reference, a water filter that may be installed is approximately 14 by 5 inches and can be installed either horizontally or vertically. Some shutoff valves may be at a different location or installed behind the wall. If that is the case, mark no for the second question here. Moving on to bubblers. There's only one question for bubblers. Should the bubbler at this tap be removed and capped? Some sinks, such as classroom sinks, have both faucets and bubblers, so it can be used for both drinking and hand washing. If a bubbler had elevated lead levels, we recommend that the bubbler be removed and the hole capped. This helps reduce the number of taps that your facility needs to manage overall and directs students and staff to use designated bottle fillers and water fountains instead. Lastly, for bottle fillers and water fountains, you will be asked about the water fountain style and electrical power. First, we will need to know if the fountain is a single level or bi-level fountain. Single level has only one height for drinking, and a bi-level has 2 stations at 2 different heights for drinking. Refrigerated fountains require an electrical outlet and include a power cord with a plug, but not all water fountains are refrigerated, so we ask about that as well. Now that we've finished reviewing the tap-specific information, we'll move on to a few required acknowledgements and recommendations of the program. For all service level options, facilities are required to acknowledge they understand their responsibilities to fulfill North Carolina rule requirements to provide clean drinking and cooking water to their students and staff. First, all facilities are responsible for proper disposal of all removed plumbing components. Additionally, following mitigation, a local or state health department official will conduct post-mitigation testing to verify that water lead levels are below 10 parts per billion at each mitigated tap. It is also recommended that all facilities develop a drinking water management plan to continue to maintain water quality in the facility in the future. Resources are available through the program to guide facilities through developing a plan. For the full and partial service options, RTI will be selecting and purchasing certified lead-free replacement products. The information collected in the request form is important for selecting the right products for your facility. The program will ensure the products match the type of water outlet and existing plumbing configuration, but the products may look different from the existing plumbing, and the program cannot accommodate custom product requests. It is also important to understand that RTI's program will cover the initial costs of filter cartridges installed at your facility for any newly installed water fountains and under-sink filters. However, it is the facility's responsibility to continue to replace filters according to the manufacturer specifications into the future. Lastly, for partial and no service options, it is the responsibility of the facility to properly install the replacement products and report all mitigation actions taken to the online portal within 30 business days from the date that mitigation was completed. Now that we have finished reviewing the form, you're ready to get started. We request that you try to complete the form within the next 5 business days to avoid any delays in the mitigation process. You will receive email notifications from our program indicating your progress. Thank you for helping us identify and eliminate lead hazards where North Carolina children learn and play. You may now continue to the mitigation request form. If you have additional questions about the form or the mitigation process, please go to our program website for additional guidance.